Welcome to Kyle Reader Music. Thanks for stopping by the channel. I'm really glad you're here. In today's video, I want to give you an introductory lesson to thumb picking guitar. Now, thumb picking guitar is a genre within the broader category of fingerstyle guitar. Thumb picking guitar is where you use a thumb pick and you learn how to alternate the bass while at the same time you learn how to play melody. It's a wonderful style. If you've ever listened to Merle Travis or Chet Atkins or Jerry Reed, Tommy Emmanuel, Doyle Dykes, Richard Smith, Wesley Crowder, just to name a few, these are thumb-picking guitarists. Again, it's a wonderful style. It's the style that I love to play, and I want to give you an introduction to this wonderful genre of fingerstyle guitar. Now, here's our lesson plan for today. The first thing that I want to do is I want to go over some of the fundamental things that you're going to need to know to enter into this style. Again, this lesson today is for a beginner. It's for someone who has heard about or listened to this style and has really wanted to play it, but you've never done it before. Well, there's some basic things that you have to know and be able to do on the guitar before you enter into this style. We're going to talk about that. Then, as we think about thumb-picking guitar, I'm going to teach you some of the basic thumb-picking patterns that you will use throughout your entire career of thumb-picking guitar. It's just some things you have to know, you have to be able to do. They're wonderful exercises. And so I'm going to go over that. And then, after we've done those things, after we're up to speed, after we've looked at some of the things that you need to enter into this style, we're going to jump into a song called Freight Train. Now, every single thumb picker that I know, every thumb picker that I've ever met, if you get to talking with them for any length of time and you talk about their entrance into this style of playing, all of them will tell you that the first song that they learned to be able to play thumb picking guitar was Freight Train. This is a great song. It's a song where you can practice all the basic things that have to do with thumb picking and you can really make progress. So I want to teach you this song today, and here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to teach you an absolute beginner version, the easiest way that I know how to play it. And then once we've done that, and then we've talked about it and we've gone through it, the second time around, I'll teach you a little bit more of a performance version of the song. It'll be a little bit more of an intermediate take through the song. Now, don't worry about that. It might take you a while to work on the beginner level, but at any other time, you can come back and you can look at more of the advanced or the intermediate level of the song. So we're going to have a great time. Let's jump right in. All right, let's talk about some of the skills that you already need to have in place before you try to tackle thumb picking guitar. Now, remember, this is a beginner video on how to play thumb style guitar, but this is not a beginner video on teaching you how to start playing the guitar. So the assumption here is that you already play some guitar. So what you're going to need to have in place before you jump into thumb picking guitar is the ability to play all of your open position chords, and you also need to know your basic bar chords. And what I mean by that are the bar chords that have their root note on the E string and also on the A string. So several shapes involved there, but you need to know that because when you enter into fingerstyle and thumb picking guitar, you're going to find that you're going to be moving all up and down the neck. So you have to learn how to use the bar and kind of know what you're doing in terms of movable chords and root notes, and those are just important features of being a fingerstyle guitarist. Also, I would say to you, as it concerns chords, that you already need to have the ability, let's say with a flat pick, to be able to keep basic rhythm. So you've been playing for a while, your skill level is to the point where you can, maybe back someone up who's singing a song, or maybe you like to sing, and so you can strum and you can change chords in time, and you're not having to wait to change to the next chord. You've already built up some speed and some basic skills as, say, a rhythm guitar player. A couple other things I think are pretty important as you enter into this style is your ability to have already done some basic finger picking exercises and patterns. Now, I know for me, when I started playing the guitar, after I got to where I could change chords in time, the next thing that I wanted to do was move beyond just the flat pick and start incorporating my fingers. So when someone uses a flat pick and their fingers to play, typically that style is called hybrid picking. So it's sort of a crossover. It's a kind of in the middle between being a straight flat picker or being a fingerstyle player. And that's how I started in my fingerstyle journey, is that I would take the flat pick, and instead of just strumming open position chords, I would finger pick the chord. So part of the chord I would play with my flat pick, and then other parts of the chord I would play with my fingers. And that's a great thing to be able to do. Again, if you're singing a song or backing someone up, maybe you're singing a ballad, and so in the verses where the music is really sweet, you want to be finger picking the chords, arpeggiating the chords. And then when you move into the chorus, perhaps you enter into a full out strum. That's a good skill. That's something you need to be able to do. Also, along those same lines, you want to be able to arpeggiate chords, not just in the hybrid style with a flat pick and your fingers, but it's also good to be able to do that just with your hand, just with finger picking. So in other words, if I was going to play, say, a G chord, if I was doing the hybrid style in 4/4 time, I would play 2 beats down with the pick and 2 beats up with the finger. If I'm doing it in a finger style pattern, I would use my thumb in place of the pick for the 2 downs, and then I would use my fingers for the up notes. Okay? And then, if we're moving into the thumb picking style, obviously we want to have a thumb pick. And we want to be able to do those same basic arpeggiating patterns, playing finger style music. Okay? So the assumption here is that perhaps you've already done some of those things and you really are ready now because you have those basic things in place to move on to the thumb picking style. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do in the next part of the video. What I want to show you now, I'm going to assume that you can play your open chords. I'm going to assume you know your bar chords. I'm going to assume that you can change chords in time. But maybe you have not entered into that realm of the hybrid style or of just the basic finger style where you're arpeggiating chord patterns. So we have to have that in place before we kind of move into the thumb picking style. So let's take a few minutes and let me show you some basic chord progressions and some basic finger picking patterns that aren't thumb style guitar just yet. Because remember, thumb style, we're alternating the bass and we're going to play melody with that. In just plain fingerstyle music, we're arpeggiating chords, we're doing chord melodies, and so let me give you some basic exercises to build your skill level just as a basic fingerstyle player, and then once we've done that, then we can jump into our thumb picking exercises. All right, let's look at this. All right, let me give you a few exercises, fingerstyle exercises that will get you up to speed if you need it. Now, if you already know how to do these things and you're ready to move on straight into the thumb picking, you can fast forward the video and you can start looking at the thumb picking patterns. But for now, I want to show you just with one simple chord progression. We're going to use the chord G, E minor, C, and D. And I'm going to show you how to arpeggiate it in a fingerstyle fashion with the hybrid method using a flat pick and your fingers, and then we're going to jump over and we're going to use the thumb pick and the fingers doing the exact same thing. Okay, so we have a G chord, we have an E minor, we have a C, we have a D, and then we're going to go back to G. All right, simple. I know you know all of those chords. Now we're going to do this in 4/4 time, and the idea here is that we are going to arpeggiate or pick out of each of these chords 4 notes of the chord that we play each note individually. And so I want you to think this way with every chord. You're going to play 2 down and then 2 up. The 2 down you're going to use with the flat pick, and the 2 up you're going to use with a finger, either your middle finger or your third finger. And of course, I encourage you to, when you practice it, to use both so that you learn how to use all your fingers when you play. Okay, so it's going to go like this. A G chord, I'm playing the 6th string, the 4th string, the 2nd, and the 3rd. So 2 down with the flat pick, 2 up with the finger. Simple as that. Then I go to the E minor, I do the same thing. Then I go to the C chord, and I'm going to use the inside 4 strings. So the 5th string, the 4th string are my downs, and my up is going to be on the 2nd string and the 3rd string. And then for the D chord, I'm playing the bottom 4 strings. 2 down, 2 up. Okay, here it is all together. Now, by the way, when you do that, you can pick out any of the notes in the chord. So for example, if I'm doing the G, I can play 6, 4, 1, 2. Or I can play 6, 4, 2, 3. As long as the note's in the chord, you can arpeggiate it. So I want you just to practice that pattern. Get used to using this hybrid method, the flat pick and your fingers. 2 down, 2 up. 2 down with the pick, 2 up with the fingers. And alternate your fingers. First time around, use the middle finger. Second time around, use the third finger. So here it is again. Okay, now we're going to do the exact same thing, except now we're going to switch to a thumb pick. And we're moving in now away from the flat pick to full out fingerstyle guitar. Again, you could do this with just straight thumb and fingers, but because we're moving into the thumb picking style, you need to practice with a thumb pick. By the way, I'm using a Fred Kelly slick pick. This is the heavy gauge pick. It's one of my favorite picks. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing. This time my 2 downs are going to be with the thumb. My 2 ups are going to be with my fingers. Now notice, because we're using a thumb pick, we've freed up the first finger. It's no longer holding the flat pick. So now I have 3 fingers that I can play with, and we need to get used to that. So when I practice these exercises, I want to do them with the thumb and the first finger. Then the second time around, I want to use the second finger for the individual string pulls, and then I want to use the third finger. Now, I'm not going to demonstrate all of that for you. I'm just going to stick with the middle finger for now, but this is the idea. Same thing. One other thing that's helpful, maybe when you do this style, another good exercise would be when you pull up on the individual strings with your fingers, use the middle finger and then the first finger to alternate. You're going back and forth here. So watch this. See that? Middle finger, first finger. Okay, any chord progression will work. Practice it in the key of C, practice it in the key of G, practice it in the key of D. Whatever you want to do, just work out those exercises, and now what you're doing is you're gaining some independence with your fingers. You're learning to use your thumb, you're learning to use your fingers. You are playing fingerstyle guitar. Now understand that's basic. You're doing it here in open position with simple chords, simple chord progressions, that's fine, but you're going to build on top of that as you move on into more thumb picking style of music. All right, so there's a few exercises to get your skills up to speed. Take as much time as you need to work on those exercises. Now let's move in to some of the basic thumb picking patterns and thumb picking exercises. All right, one of the beauties of thumb picking guitar is that it's accomplishing a couple of things. Number one, your thumb is keeping rhythm, and so it sounds like a rhythm player, while your fingers are playing melody and harmony. And so what actually happens when you play thumb picking guitar, it's almost like you're a one-man band. You're keeping the rhythm, you're playing the melody. It is an incredible style. Again, Merle Travis, Chet Atkins, Jerry Reed, Tom Emanuel, these are some of the men who have made this style famous. And in order to play the thumb picking style, you have to understand what it's rooted in. And it's just rooted in basic thumb picking patterns. Now, I think the hardest part about thumb picking guitar when you first start is learning how to make your hand work as 2 units. Now, think about it for a minute. When you play with a flat pick, your whole hand is moving together as 1 unit. And even when you play finger picking guitar, all your fingers are working and they're moving, but they're all kind of moving in the same direction. When you move into thumb picking guitar, you're actually training your thumb to work independently of your other fingers. I've said it, I learned this from an old man one time. He told me you have to learn how to hypnotize your thumb. In other words, your thumb has to learn how to keep rhythm without you even thinking about it. And the moment you start thinking about it is the moment the whole thing falls apart. So these exercises are designed to teach your thumb to gain independence from the rest of your fingers. So now your hand is working as 2 separate things. The thumb is doing one thing, the fingers are doing another thing. So the fingers, when they're working, they're involved in playing individual notes. They're involved in pulling portions, several strings, so that you get portions of a chord where you're playing melody, you're playing harmony, and the whole thing comes together in just beautiful arrangements that really causes the guitar to speak to people. All right, when we think about these thumb picking patterns, I like to think of them from the standpoint of teaching my thumb to play rhythm on E string root chords, A string root chords, and D string root chords. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if I'm playing an E chord in open position, the root note for this E chord is obviously the E string. If I'm playing an A chord, then obviously the root note of the A chord is going to be the A string. If I'm playing a D chord, again, the root note is going to be the open D string. And anytime I play a bar chord, I want to ask myself the question, where is the root note? So for example, if I was playing a G major bar chord, the root note is here in the 3rd fret on the E string. And so that's an E string root chord. Now, when you play an E string root chord, there's basically 2 different thumb picking patterns that you're going to play. One is going to be 6, 4, 5, 4. 6, 4, 5, 4. The other one is 6, 4, 6, 4. Those are the 2 most common. When you play an A string root chord, let's just do it here in open position on an A chord. It's 5, 4, 6, 4. 5, 4, 6, 4. 5, 4, 6, 4. Or 5, 4, 5, 4. If you play a D string root chord, obviously the D string is the root, so here we're going to play 4, 3, 5, 3. Or 4, 3, 4, 3. Okay? So anytime I'm playing an E string root chord, it's 6, 4, 5, 4 or 6, 4, 6, 4. If I'm playing an A string root chord, it's 5, 4, 6, 4 or 5, 4, 5, 4. If it's D string root chord, 4, 3, 5, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3. Now here's another thing to look out for. A C chord, for example. The C chord gets its root note on the A string in the 3rd fret. All right? So oftentimes when we play certain chords, we not only alternate our thumb, but we also have to alternate the bass with the left hand that's actually playing on the fret. So for example, a C chord, if I'm going to play 5, 4, 6, 4, I have to jump up here and get that G note because the G is the proper alternating bass note. So it's the 5 of the chord. So we have, and we're going to do that in freight train. So you need to learn that right now on a C chord, how to alternate that bass. It's really cool. Sounds great. Cool technique. 5, 4, 6, 4. 5, 4, 6, 4. Again, because it's an A string root chord. Okay, now that you know what the thumb is doing with these patterns, now you have to learn how to use the fingers and incorporate the melody and the harmony. Let's take a common progression in the key of E. E, A, and a B7. We all know those chords. And again, a B7, A string root, and the alternating note is going to be the F sharp. So it's this. Okay, let's take this chord progression, and on the 2nd note, the 2nd and the 4th, we're going to do a pull on the bottom string. Let's just use one finger to start. So watch this. Go to A, same thing, but we're doing 5, 4, 6, 4. Okay, and if we're doing a B7, back to E. That's the pattern. And what I want to do is those pulls, I want to practice it with my 1st finger, my middle finger, my 3rd finger, and then I want to practice it with all 3. So listen to what it would sound like with all 3. To that. You need to alternate it also with the 6, 4, 6, 4 pattern on the E string root. And then 5, 4, 5, 4 on the A. I'm sorry. And then on the B, same thing, 5, 4, 5, 4. Back to the E. That's the basic pattern. It's the basic thumb picking pattern with the pulls. All right, so we're pulling on beats 2 and 4. One other thing to remember when you're playing these patterns, you want to take the palm of your hand on your right hand or on your thumb picking hand, and you want to touch the back of the strings and give it a bit of a mute. Instead of this, you want this. Just practice that over and over. E, A, B7. All right, how about for the key of A? We could use A, D, and E. We're going to do the exact same thing. We're playing our thumb picking patterns. We're pulling on beats 2 and 4. We practice it with the first finger, we practice it with the second finger, we practice it with the third finger, and then we practice with all 3 fingers. You can even practice with 2 fingers. So there's a lot of variation to the patterns. But watch this. I'm just going to use all 3 fingers to pull. There's the exercises for the key of A, D, and E. Now we can do the same thing in the key of D. And I'm just giving you examples. We could do the key of C. We could do any key that we wanted to. I'm just giving them to you in open position to make it simple. D string root. We start with the D, so what are we playing? We're playing 4, 3, 5, 3. And then our second chord will be a G, and we're going to do a G bar chord. And then we're going to play an A, and then back to the D. So watch. It's the same thing. And I'm just pulling. I can use one finger, second finger, however I want to do it, and then all of them together. And there you have it. Those are the basic thumb picking patterns. And you want to spend hours doing that. And you, again, the idea with the patterns, it's not that the patterns are so hard, these basic patterns. What you're doing is you're teaching your thumb independence from your fingers. That's the main idea. And it's also to learn what the thumb is supposed to do concerning the rhythm. And you have this alternating idea going back and forth. So you've got to learn it on E string root chords, A string root chords, and D string root chords. All right, with all of that, I think now we are ready to jump into Freight Train. If you get the thumb picking patterns down, your skill level is going to be now to where you can enter into this style learning the introductory song Freight Train. So let me play it for you. I'll play it up to tempo. I'll play the exact version I'm going to teach you in its very basic form, and then we'll look at it in detail. All right, in this basic version, we're just going to start out here in open position in the key of C. So the chords are pretty straightforward. We have C, we're going to go to a G, then we're going to go to a D minor 7 bar chord, to a G7, and then a C. And then we're going to an E, basically a G with a B in the bass after the E, to an F, to a G7, back to a C. That's the chords. So here's the melody on the C chord. Now we're playing one melody note. So on the right hand, I want you just to use either your first finger or your middle finger. It doesn't really matter, either one. Now this is an A string root chord, the C, so we're playing 5, 4, 6, 4. All right, in the open position C chord, the first 4 notes, here we go. And and put the thumb with it. Real slow. To a G7. This is the full chord. And here's what I'm playing. So it's, here's my notes. Now if you notice, with the thumb picking hand, I'm playing the pattern 6-4-6-4, like we talked about earlier. So on the C chord, it was a 5-4-6-4, but on the G, it's a 6-4-6-4. So on that G again, it's let's put that together. To my D minor 7. And I'm just playing 5-4-5-4. And my melody notes are you don't have to do anything on that except hold the chord. To a G7 bar chord, and I'm playing 5th fret on the B string with the pinky. And my thumb picking pattern there is 6-4-6-4. So I've got, then I'm going back to the C. So the melody is 5-4-6-4 with a thumb. All right, let me try all that again. Up to my E, basically an E7 kind of shape. So the melody is 5th fret, B string, and I'm playing a 6-4-6-4 with a thumb. And that's just the G chord with the B and the bass, and I'm just playing these notes, and it's a 5-4-5-4 kind of idea. So it's to an F, there's my melody. Playing 6-4-6-4. Back to the G, G7. Now on that G, it's a 6-4-6-4, and my melody is this. So it's the open G, G on the bottom E string, open, 3rd fret on the B string. I'm back to my C chord. And by the way, you can kick it off with the classic walk up. So here's the whole thing. once you've got that down, remember, as we're playing this, I'm really only using one finger on my right hand. I'm playing one melody note through each chord. But once you get that down, then you can go back, and what I would encourage you now to do is play the exact same thing, except use your first two fingers and pull two strings at the same time. Listen to this. Doesn't that sound good? Listen to how much better that sounds than this. Now listen with two fingers. So you're playing harmony along with it. And that's the beauty of thumb picking guitar. You got that thumb going, keeping the rhythm. You've got the melody. Add another finger, you get harmony. Freight Train. All right, now that we've got the beginner version down, let me play through it one more time and let me make a few changes, a few modifications to bring it up to a little bit more of a performance level. And so this would bring us into some intermediate levels of playing thumb style guitar. Now don't worry about it, you can take your time and keep working on it, but I'm gonna do some variations. I'm gonna offset the melody a little bit, maybe throw in a few other chords and a few other tricks just to spice it up a bit. Let's jump in and I'll show you how to do it. All right, in this more intermediate variation, we're really still following the exact same chord structure that we did in the first part of the song. The only real difference is that when we play the melody, we're going to offset it a little bit. Instead of playing straight on the beat, then we're going to throw in a few extra chords, and we've got a tag and an ending as we conclude this variation. So if you think about what we did the first time through, think of that opening C chord and the melody. Okay, we played it straight on the beat. Now let's offset it. Listen to this. Let me do it real slow. Then I'm going to go to the G7. Watch this. I'm going to roll the chord. Two together. To the D minor 7. Just playing 5, 5, 4, 5, 4, and I'm doing the melody and the harmony together. So I'm pulling two notes to the G7, but I'm going to hammer my melody and roll the chord. Before we played this. Now we're playing. All right, so we got this. Back to the C. And That's a cool little lick. And then to the E, the G with the B in the bass, to the F. And I'm going to play an F sharp diminished. So it's and then when I roll the chord, I'm going to raise my first finger to get that open B string. So we got to the G7, and I'm going to hammer on. And I've got that little slide there. Real slow. It's kind of tricky. And then C to the G to the C. So I've got from the E. Then I'm going to tag it. Walk up to the E. So there's the E, G with the B. I'm going to play my F again, but this time instead of going to the F sharp diminished, I'm going to play a diminished, but I'm going to do it on the A. Now remember, diminished chords move in fours. So if I'm playing an F sharp diminished, I can move it up 4 frets, and it fits. So I can play. To my G again. Alright, so here's what I did at the end. I moved the diminished chord, rolled it down to the G7, same lick we did a minute ago, C, and I'm going to put that little lick on the end. So think of a D7. Okay, and I'm doing 3 notes down. So I'm from the D string, G string, B string. And then I'm playing 4 strings on that shape. Hey, thanks for stopping by the channel. I hope this tutorial has been a great help to you. We'll catch you in the next one. Keep picking.